Measures 17 through 24 don't have any actual written music, but instead they are harmonic chord changes. This section would have the guitarist, the pianist, or the vibe player playing chords behind a soloist or maybe just another melody that's going on. So if you're brand new to chord voicings, have no fear, I'll show you some basic things you can use, and then I'll show you a couple of variations which can open up the sound and create some really nice sounding chords on the vibes. So luckily, 17 through 24 only has two different chords, C dominant 7 and F7. C dominant 7 is spelled C, E, G, B flat. F dominant 7 is spelled F, A, C, E flat. Those two groups of notes will need to be played in some fashion in order to successfully comp measures 17 through 24. The first one, brand new to voicings, you have no idea what I'm talking about already, try this one out. This has C, E, G, and B flat stacked. We call this root position because we have the root is in my left hand and they're stacked up in thirds. I'll comp this section using only root position chords. So that's an option. If this terrifies you, stick with this one, the idea of playing chord changes. You would have noticed that I moved around an awful lot. I had a shift between these two sets of notes. The goal of any really good comping player is to be able to move their notes from note 1 to note 2 within a narrow range. What I mean is, in other words, from the C7 to the F7, I would love my mouths to only move maybe a second, a minor second, at the most maybe a third, if possible. This is called voice leading, and creates a mature sound on a comping instrument. Now, the second variety of comping we'll use here is called a drop 2 voicing. Take your root position chord, find the second voice from the top, and drop it down an octave. C, E, G, B flat. The G is the second highest voice here. We will drop that down one octave. My mouths would now be set up G, C, E, and B flat. I'm going to comp this section with this drop 2 voicing for both the C7 and the F7. So a drop 2 voicing creates a bigger sound. The vibes have the tendency to sound tinny if we use chord voicings, which sometimes are closed or more likely in root position. This is a bigger sound. It sounds fuller. It would have a better chance of supporting a soloist than the root position voicing would. I still did a lot of shifting back and forth, and to me it still sounded a little bit stock, or it doesn't sound, in other words, it doesn't sound stylistic to jazz. So option 3 would be a similar setup as in drop 2. For instance, I have G, C, E, and B flat. If I swap those notes like this, I now have the guide tones in my left hand. B flat, E, G, and C. This is a very useful voicing on vibraphone. It's similar to a drop 2 voicing because it's open. I have guide tones in one hand and root and fifth in the other hand. This is the voicing I used to comp during the recording of this piece. What I'll do is try to move my voices very little. If I can move my B flat down to an A and my E to an E flat, well, that's great. That'll be a really nice close voicing between C and F. And my right hand, I don't know, why don't I just keep them on G and C? Those will both work over these chords. The G kind of sticks out for the F because it's the 9th. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'll comp this with this third option of guide tones in your left hand. Okay, bigger sound, more open. I can now shift my right hand if you're If this is all old news to you, another idea is to create some color in your right hand by adding different extensions. Extensions to this chord could be the 9, the 13, the 11, the sharp 11. In this case, for C7, I kind of like the sound of shifting my hands from G and C to A and D. This is the 13, this is the 9. It has a pretty nice sound to it. And again, I'll just switch my left hand between the guide tones. This is comping, this is like 3A, or this is the fourth way I've demonstrated here. Okay, so in all this time, the rhythm for all these voicings, I'm just in my head, I hear a drummer playing jazz time, or playing swing time, and I hear a bass player walking. And so my rhythm aren't always on downbeats. I'm comping along with that imaginary rhythm section in my head. So those are 3.5 or 4 different ways to voice these chords. Find the one which you're comfortable with and you like the sound of, and plug it in to measures 17 through 24.